Hello everyone and welcome to the weird, scary and horrible parts of humanity. Today we are looking at the 1977 Dutch school hostage crisis and the 1977 Dutch train hijacking, committed by Moluccan Youths. The Maluku Islands is an archipelago in the east of Indonesia, consisting of 3.1 million people with 1,000 islands within the territory, which is part of Indonesia. The Republic of South Maluku is an unrecognised successionist republic claiming the islands of Ambon, Brouwer and Sermon. Following Indonesian independence in 1949 from the Netherlands, the Republic of South Maluku was established in April 1950, with leaders stipulating autonomy for each of the states of the Federation. Following the defeat of the Republic of South Maluku in the capital of Maluku, Ambon, in November 1950, the government of the Republic of South Maluku, under self-declared President Chris Somerkil, withdrew to Seram, with an armed struggle continuing until 1963. In 1966, Somerkil was captured on Seram Island by Indonesian authorities, and on the order of President Suharto, he was executed on the 12th of April 1966 on Ubi Island, north of Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia. As a result, the exiled government moved to the Netherlands in the same year and became a government in exile. The government joined other South Moluccans who had migrated to the Netherlands following Indonesia's independence, and were promised by the Dutch government that they would get their own independent state. However, for 27 years, some 40,000 Moluccans had lived in poor conditions and temporary camps, with many stateless and refused Dutch settlement. They were living in 63 government settlements. Younger generations began feeling betrayed by the Dutch government and resorted to terrorism in order to draw attention to their case. Indeed, the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Joop den Uyl, had refused to recognise the Republic. At 9 a.m. on Monday, the 23rd of May 1977, 4 South Moluccans armed with guns and handguns took 105 children and 5 teachers hostage at a primary school in Bovensmilde in the Midden-Drenthe, 6 kilometres or 3.7 miles southwest of Assen. 15 children of South Moluccan origin were immediately released. All children were forced to cover the windows to the primary school with newspapers in order to prevent the Dutch and world media, who by this stage, along with the Dutch army, were surrounding the school, from seeing what was going on. At around 9 a.m. on the same day, a train was hijacked into Punt near Glimmen in the Groningen province, with 9 Moluccans armed with guns and handguns pulling the emergency handbrake. The train was an NS MAT 54 number 747. The Moluccans were aged between 17 and 27, having boarded the train at Assen station with a one-way ticket purchased for Groningen. An additional hijacker, Mezak Jonas Patty, was supposed to join the hijackers but never showed up, and stated that on the morning of the 23rd of May 1977 he could not move his legs and hence stayed in bed. All of the hijackers were male except for Hansina Uktalegisa, who was the only female hijacker. Both attacks were coordinated by 24-year-old Max Papilaya, who lived in Assen and was a part-time employee of a provincial government who participated in the hijacking on board the train. The train was parked at a bend in the track and surrounded by farmland near woods and the river. Passengers were warned that if they tried to leave they would be shot. The chief conductor and driver were forced to leave the train along with 40 passengers, while 54 passengers aged between 16 and 58 were kept on board the train. Hostages on the train were forced to cover up the windows to the train. On the 24th of May 1977, the national broadcaster of the Netherlands, NOS, read a letter outlining the hijackers' demands, which stated that they wished within 2 days for 21 comrades imprisoned for earlier hijacking plots, including the 1975 train hijacking, which we did an earlier video on, to be released, as well as a Boeing 747 at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport to take them to the Republic of South Molucca, warning that if their demands were not met within 2 days there would be many deaths. The then Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Joop den Uyl, formed a crisis team which included the Minister of Justice, Dries van Agt, as well as Minister of the Interior, Guus de Gay Fortman. Van Agt favoured a tough approach, while den Uyl and Fortman wished to negotiate directly with the hijackers. Negotiations took place in a crisis centre, which was an old defence shelter in Assen with telephone lines to the trains. Meals were sent into the school as well as to the train by the Dutch government, with the entirety of the world captivated by the bizarre nature of the hijackings and the Moluccans' plight. Two psychiatrists negotiated with the hijackers on the train, Dr. Hank Havenier as well as Dr. Dick Mulder. On the 25th of May 1977, elections were to take place in the Netherlands. While the Labour Party won the most seats with 53 seats, it was not enough for the Labour Party to hold government, with a coalition formed between the Christian Democratic Appeal and the People's Party for Freedom and Democracy after 208 days. As a result, then Justice Minister Dries van Acht, albeit not sworn in until the 19th of December 1977, would become the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. On the day of the election, children in the Bovensmilde primary school were forced to shout, "Van Acht, we want to live." On the same day, Papilaya warned Mulder that if their demands were not met, a hostage from the train would be blindfolded, taken out and shot. As a result, one of the hostages was paraded outside of the train with a noose around their neck, with a gun to their back. In an interview with the BBC in 1998, the unidentified hostage stated that they believed that they would be shot, but were subsequently taken back on board the train. The hijackers in the Bovensmilde primary school set an initial ultimatum of the 25th of May at 2 p.m. and threatened to blow up the train and school. However, this deadline passed without incident. On the 26th of May, a handcuffed male hostage on the train was taken outside before being taken back on board the train. Within the school, food was being provided by the Dutch military from the Dutch government for the children to eat, and on the 27th of May, all of the children were released after they became ill with the mumps, as well as one teacher. While it is unknown exactly what the nature of the illness was, it is speculated, based on statements by Van Acht, that the food given to children was deliberately poisoned with laxatives in order to force a break-in. As a result, 4 teachers remained hostage. On the 28th of May, 60 activists offered themselves as alternative hostages within the train, but this did not come to anything. On the same day, Sine Rose, a practical nurse who was being held hostage aboard the train, asked Papilaya why he was doing this. Papilaya noted that his parents came to the Netherlands from the South Moluccan Islands in 1950, and the Dutch government had promised that they could return to an independent republic after only 6 months, and when this did not come to fruition, he felt betrayed, which could be seen as the main motivation for all of the hijackers in both of the attacks. Those held on the train would later note that they were incredibly bored during the ordeal, spent much of their time playing cards, as well as learning about the plight of the Moluccans, while simultaneously feeling isolated and cut off from their families and forgotten by the rest of the world. Negotiations about releasing a pregnant woman named N. Ellenbroek, whose first name was not released, were cut off on the 29th of May, and it was not until the 31st of May that hijackers on board the train asked for a negotiator. These were Johan Mansuama, as well as Reverend Metriagi, and the widow of Chris Somokil, Josina Somokil Taniwel. On the 1st of June, hijackers aboard the train asked for communication with the negotiators, but this was later retracted. On the 4th of June, Mansuama and Metraij, as well as Somokil Tainwell, engaged in an hour-long conversation with the hijackers, with a second conversation taking place on the 9th of June. During this conversation, Somokil Taniwel handed one of the hijackers a note, which included an appeal to persevere and adhere to their demands, with allegations that Benin would take in all of the hijackers as well as 21 Moluccan detainees who they wanted to be released. This was not what Dutch negotiators were expecting. In an interview with the BBC in 1998, she said that at the time she did not tell them to surrender, as she could see that they had a firm stance and felt that they would be disappointed if, as the mother of the nation, she told them to surrender. Indeed, the surrender of the hijackers in 1975 had deeply disappointed the people of Malacca. She also told the BBC that she was indeed on the hijackers' side and not an intermediary. On the 5th of June, 2 pregnant women, including the future mayor of Utrecht, Annie Brouwer-Korf, were allowed to leave the train. The first people on board the train allowed to leave, followed by an ill passenger named Fur J. van Huttem, whose first 2 names were not released, who was allowed to leave the train on the 8th of June. By this stage, hijackers were becoming increasingly brazen and were spotted on the 6th of June playing baseball outside the train. However, on the night of the 10th of June, a hostage noted that Papilaya seemed depressed, and he told one of the hostages that he did not know what to do. On the 11th of June at 5 a.m, 6 F-104 jet fighters of the Royal Netherlands Air Force flew over the train 3 times at low altitude, using their afterburners to disorient hijackers with smoke bombs dropped. One of the fighter pilots was Dick Belgian, who would become the chief of the Netherlands Defence Staff from 2004 until the 4th of September 2005, and the chief of defence from the 5th of September 2005 until the 17th of April 2008. Following this, Marines of the counter-terrorist BBE Special Forces, the Bijonstere Bijonsdastenheid, now known as the M-Squadron, forcefully entered the train, firing rifles and machine guns within the train, utilising expanding bullets. They engaged in a gun battle with terrorists. In total, 15,000 bullets were fired in just 3 minutes. While expanding bullets are prohibited by international treaties, in the event of war or armed conflict, it is permitted with special government permission by the Netherlands. Marines primarily aimed at the first-class compartments of a train and vestibules, because hijackers were known to be located there. One hostage who was allowed to stay in the first-class section on the balcony, 19-year-old Ansje Monstuur, was killed. Additionally, 40-year-old hostage Rein van Barcel, who was asleep and stood up when he heard the gunfire, was shot. 6 passengers were wounded, one of them seriously. The remaining 49 train passengers managed to escape, with 6 hijackers killed. These were Papalaya, Ronnie Lumalisl, Haninsa Uktosjer, George Matsulesi, Mingus Ramoromir, and Matthäus Tunich. The 6 hijackers were buried at De Boskamp Cemetery in Assen. 17,000 people attended the mass funeral for the 6 hijackers. It was found that throughout the ordeal, Papalaya had kept a list of hostages who he was going to kill. At the same time, Dutch Marines punched a hole into the wall of the school utilising 13 armoured cars and explosives, and Marines entered the building shouting to the 4 Moluccans, give up, you are surrounded." Having heard about the military attack on the train and the death of the 6 Moluccan hijackers, the Moluccans who took the children hostage surrendered immediately. By 6 a.m, teachers were taken away in ambulances to local hospitals. The school was demolished shortly after the hostage crisis, with a new school named De Menfer built. Classes continued in Assen and then in a semi-permanent location in Bovensmilde. Subsequently, the 4 attackers in the school were convicted, with sentences varying from 6 to 9 years. The 3 hijackers who survived the assault on the train were sentenced to between 6 and 9 years in prison. Puppy was sentenced to 1 year in prison. The train involved in the hijacking was rebuilt, and in 1991 the number was changed to 758. Before, in 1993, the train was retired. In 2000, a 4-part documentary series on the train hijacking was broadcast on NPS. While the Moluccan community never made any apologies, 2 of the hijackers, who were born-again Christians, met with former victims in 2007 on the 30th anniversary of the hostage situation. In the same year, a monument was erected and the first memorial ceremony was held, with symbolic white balloons released. In 2009, the Dutch TV programme De Punt was made, dramatising the Dutch train hijacking, and was broadcast on Nederland 2. In 2012, then Dutch Minister of Defence Johannes Stephanus Joseph Hillen, known as Hans Hillen, announced that it was planned to issue a badge to the soldiers who participated in the storming of the train. While this proposal was withdrawn, the soldiers were granted veteran status. However, controversy surrounds the 6 hijackers who were killed on the train, and why the train had to be stormed by Dutch militia. In 1998, survivor George Flapper told the BBC that the number of deaths could have been part of a political situation, as the Moluccan hijackers didn't kill anyone, and in order to sell the siege to the global public, the Moluccan hijackers had to die, particularly since innocent hostages were killed in the raid. Many Moluccans believe that the hijackers were still alive when soldiers boarded the train and were executed upon the BBE Special Forces boarding the train. Indeed, the only female hijacker, Hansina Uktosledjach, was alleged by Dutch author Jaap Schulten to have been shot at with 128 bullets, while the news channel RTV Drenthe alleged that she was hit with 8 bullets. In 2013, journalist Jan Beckers, as well as one of the surviving hijackers, Jonas Rimerase, concluded that 3 or 4 of the hijackers had still been alive when the train was stormed and were executed by the Marines. Additionally, in November 2014, media reports emerged that Justice Minister Van Acht ordered military commanders to kill all hijackers. However, an investigation published in the same month by the Netherlands Ministry of Defence concluded that no executions had taken place, but Marines did kill hijackers who were unarmed. Families of two of the hijackers killed by the Marines, Utoleska and Papiladja, took the Dutch government to court for compensation in 2016, with their demand for compensation totaling €59,000. In raising the lawsuit, Papiladja's mother told NOS that she wished to know why her son was murdered. This was rejected by a court in The Hague on the 25th of July 2018, and rejected once again on appeal on the 1st of June 2021. Thank you for watching. Please do yourself a favour and hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to inform yourself of when new videos come out. Also, why not hit that like button and leave a nice comment? It helps more than you know, and your support is truly appreciated. Until next time, stay awesome, stay classy, be kind to everyone you meet, have an amazing day, and remember that truth is always more interesting than fiction.